Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so today we are talking about Samsung phones. Now, I'm a big fan of Samsung, so much, I am such a big fan of Samsung that I bought the new Samsung phone. Okay, this is a great phone. I can touch screen, I can search the internet. It's such a great smartphone. You gotta get a new Samsung smartphone. It will change your life. Wait, what's that? My imaginary friend's talking to me. What? We're supposed to be talking about Samson, like the Bible Samson. Well, this changes things.
I'm so wasted.
I'm sponsored by God.
This isn't even a Samsung phone. Directed by Bruce McDonald and starring Taylor James, Jackson Rathbone, Billy Zane, Leahy, I think that's how it's pronounced, and some other people, is obviously about the story of Samson from the Bible. The guy who, killed like thousands of Philistines with a jawbone of a donkey and was super manly, and it's one of the coolest, most violent stories in the Bible. That's what this movie is about. If you don't know the story of Samson, the actual story, I suggest that you actually read the story from the Bible, whether you're religious or non-religious. It's a very interesting story. It's an awesome story. If there was ever a story that should be made into a movie, it would be the Samson story. It's got everything. It's got everything for a great movie. Drama, intrigue, some sex and violence. It's all there. It's all there. Read the story of Samson from the Bible. Now let's talk about this movie. Let's talk about the things I liked and didn't like about Samson. First, let's discuss performances. Taylor James plays Samson. He's a young guy. I've never seen him in any movie before. What I will say about him and his performance is he's decent. I think he's a decent actor. Some of his lines did not go over so well in the movie. Some of his acting wasn't all that great, but I really think that he actually has a lot of potential as an actor. I think a lot of the problems with his performance are due to directing and just not very good dialogue. But he himself, I thought he was a pretty good choice for Samson if you're gonna make a low-budget Samson movie. He's super buff. He certainly looks the part. He's not pasty white like the rest of the people in this cast. And yeah, I thought Taylor James, I thought he was serviceable. I thought he was fine, and I hope that he gets some more roles in the future because I don't think he was bad. Now, Jackson Rathbone, he plays the villain in this movie, Rala, and I think he gives a pretty good performance. He definitely overacts sometimes. He does this little lip quiver whenever he does his evil grin that is really honestly just hilarious. But overall, I thought he was actually not bad. He was, very, very, very pale and pasty. But, as a performance in a movie goes, he was not terrible. I thought he was decent. He was fairly good, except for the times when he wasn't. Billy Zane, I thought, was actually really quite good. He played King Balak, I believe, and I gotta say, very white, just like most of the people in the cast, but he was pretty good. He kind of reminded me of Vincent D'Onofrio. I thought his performance as the king, I thought was quality. He clearly was not just a big angry king. He had a mind, and you got to hear some of his philosophy as far as what he thought of religion and gods and all that sort of stuff. And it was very interesting, and I liked his scenes in this movie. And now for the last noteworthy performance, at least noteworthy in a good way, in this movie, I think Leahy, who played Delilah in this movie, really good. I really liked her. I've not seen her in anything else, but I would certainly like to see her in more things. She was really beautiful. She had the eyes. She really had the eyes for the character of Delilah. She had the eyes of someone who could very easily seduce somebody like Samson. Like, if I were to gaze into them in person, I'd probably fall on my face. So she was very beautiful, and I thought her performance was pretty solid. She did a really good job. For most of the movie, there were a few times where she had to get really emotional, where I think she pulled it off, but she wasn't the most confident, or she wasn't as confident as she could have been. But I liked her. I liked her in this movie. For me, she was the big takeaway from this movie. I was like, hey, that girl. I want to see her in more films. So if we were to judge the merit of the actor who played Samson versus the actress who played Delilah, I would say that the actress who played Delilah was better than the actor who played Samson. Some of the iffy performances in this movie, I think Frances Sholto, or what is her name? Okay, Frances Sholto-Douglas. She plays Taryn in the movie. She was okay. Yeah, she was just all right. I was not a big fan of hers. She was some of her acting was really not very good. Yeah, there were some other performances in this movie that were, decent to bad, and honestly, I don't think that they're noteworthy enough to talk about, and so I'm not going to talk about them. Now, this next thing I'm going to talk about is both a positive and a negative for Samson. The action in this movie, okay? Some of it is really quite cool. The scene where Samson kills the Philistines with a donkey's jawbone is actually, it's very cool. I liked the scene. It was pretty good, and there were some really good scenes of action in this movie. However, the budget showed. It was a pretty, clearly the fight scenes were not extremely well choreographed, and also they were often shortened sometimes. There were some scenes of violence where they just they did a montage, a minute-long montage that just kind of eliminated how cool the scene was. Now the Philistine, slaughtering scene, that was all pretty cool. But I was sitting there during the movie, during some of these scenes of action and violence, and going, this movie should have been rated R. Samson, if there is ever a movie that should be rated R, it would be Samson, okay? And I was just sitting there thinking, not only should it be rated R, but it should have a much bigger budget. And I understand, the studio made this as Pure Flix or something. I understand that they don't have the budget to make a really super high quality movie, a Samson movie, but I'm just don't do a Samson movie until you do have that budget, because Samson is such an incredible story. It's crazy. It literally has every element of a great story. I was sitting there thinking to myself during these scenes of action and violence, if they had gotten Mel Gibson, if Mel Gibson were to do a Samson movie, it would be one of the greatest movies of all time. He's proven that he's, incredible director, Braveheart, Passion of the Christ, Hacksaw Ridge, Apocalypto, and if he were to bring, his skills to the table, Samson would be an incredible, incredible movie that, it would just blow everybody away. Unfortunately, they did not get somebody like Mel Gibson. I was also thinking that a really good choice for at least the scenes of violence and action in this movie, to helm them, would be James Mangold, the guy who directed Logan. I was thinking, if you bring the intensity and ferocity of Logan to a Samson movie, it would be perfect. Because the scenes like the Philistine slaughter scene, it was cool, but it was not not even half as cool as it should have been. And that goes for just about every single scene in this movie. This whole movie, honestly, wasn't terrible, but it really wasn't that good either. It was a good effort, but this movie was not half. It wasn't even a quarter of what a Samson movie really should be. That kind of pissed me off, and I'm this Pure Flix studio, they're a Christian movie studio. They've come a long ways from their days of making just really awfully awful movies that are just horribly acted, horribly written. They have gotten better, and Samson is a better movie than some of their earlier movies, but I don't think that they're ever going to have the balls to make a rated R movie, because they've got that label of Pure Flix, and so they want to make almost family-friendly movies. But Samson, if you're going to do a Samson movie, you've got to either go big or you go home, and Samson is a rated R story. It just is. It just is. Now, a negative that I definitely have also is that the special effects in this movie are not very good. Now, of course, that's due to budget, but yeah, you can totally tell, some of the graphics in this movie are a bit PS4-ish or PS3-ish. So in the end, my thoughts on Samson, the new movie, are this. I thought it was a really good effort. I thought it was a good try. But Samson should be truly one of the greatest movies of all time. And really, this movie is not a good movie, really. It's a good effort. They really tried hard, but they did not succeed, really. There were definitely some enjoyable and cool moments in this movie, but overall, the movie I would not recommend to people. I think that it's good that Pure Flix and some of these other smaller kind of faith-based studios are getting better, more nuanced in their filmmaking. They're not making propaganda anymore, per se. But Samson it's just not as good as it should have been. It's one of the most incredible stories in the Bible. It's just, whether you believe it, that it's true or it's not true, it's an incredible story that you should read, and you should be like, whoa, this is freaking cool, because it is freaking cool. And unfortunately, Samson, the movie, focused on, one of the greatest stories in the Bible, one of the most interesting stories ever, but did not fully realize it to the degree that it should have been realized. Hell, it didn't even come close. So in the end, I will give Samson a C-. So tell me, ladies and gentlemen, have you seen Samson? If so, comment below and tell me what you thought of it. Also, have you read the story of Samson? Do you have thoughts on the story of Samson? Whatever you gotta say about Samson, leave it in the comment section below, okay? And I will look at it. Alright? And as always, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and never forget to be